Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about software development and low-class jobs. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, hi Frederick, do you think that programming will become a low-class job due to how easy it is becoming and how common it is becoming? No. In a word, no. The idea that software development is going to become a low-class job, depending of course on what we mean by a low-class job, but based on my assumptions, then no, there is no way that that's going to happen. Simply because a low-class job, or at least per my definition, is something that is fairly low paid, fairly low effort, and so forth. Because that's something that people have to remember usually. There is a correlation between whatever occupation you have, the salary you make, and all that stuff, that ties into two main things. One part is complexity, or what is the investment for you to be able to do this thing, and that really at the end of the day comes down to how easy access do you have to people who can do the job. That's one. And the other thing is how valuable, like how many of these people do you actually need, or so forth and so forth. And on both accounts, it is a nightmare to meet your headcount in programming, and I suspect that that's going to stay that way for basically forever. The reason being simply that it's a moving field. It's like any type of engineering or anything like that. A low-class job. Let's say that we talk about cleaning toilets. Why isn't that something that is, well paid? Because we need to clean toilets all the time. Well, it's usually down to the fact that the work is perceived as not being especially valuable or complex or something like that, and you can literally find anyone to do it for cheap. So, and that's sort of what it comes down to. There is no way for you to find a quality software developer for a slave wage consistently. That's not going to happen. What you can do is that you can find really bad people. You can absolutely make the investment into, and that's sort of what's happening right now. But guys, I want you to understand that the time, this era we live in, where hiring a software developer and having that person be really bad at the job, and I've been in so many interviews with people like that now, where their CV states things that I can very clearly see that they are incompetent. But the CV to an uninformed person looks probably decent. When I talk to these people, and I can also hear that they're incompetent, and a average person might not be able to tell that. The reason why this happens is due to the fact that you have inexperienced stakeholders. Companies don't know how to hire. A lot of companies don't know what they're looking for in a software developer. And sure, there are companies who are literally looking for people who just have the bare bone understanding of things, right? But that's not what the trend is moving towards. The trend is moving away from these low-end projects that are being made with WordPress, or these low-end projects that is just using Bootstrap or whatever, like these sorts of tasks where you can get away with knowing the bare bone basics. That's the thing that is we are going away from. The trend is that we're moving towards more and more complicated systems. You have no idea how much if you don't, or if you're not already aware, we have created several new occupations in just the last 5 years to meet the demand of an ever increasing need for complicated or like more sophisticated solutions and innovative people and so forth. It's just growing. It's growing at an almost exponential rate at this point. I would suspect that within 10 years, it's actually, I'm not going to say within 10 years, but within a very short future, some of the roles that we have today in terms of like software developers and so forth is going to have to include even more stuff than it is already including today. The high-end software developers of today, as I actually had that question yesterday by an intern at my job, or like we were talking about it, and he was asking me about the official education, and he was surprised to learn that some developers don't have like a bachelor's or things like that. And I said, from my experience after working for a few years now, I can tell you that there is none, literally no correlation between software development skill and a degree. I've never seen a consistent correlation. The only correlation that exists at this point is between personal passion and motivation, interests, that sort of thing. That is the thing that makes you a good software developer. And if you think about that, how many people do you know who have their job because they really love it, and they're good at that job because they push it to the max? I can count on my 5 fingers how many people like that I know, and a lot of them are actually software developers. I don't know anyone like that, practically, outside of software engineering. And as you can imagine, if that is what's required of you as an individual to be effective at this job, that creates a nightmare scenario for a lot of companies. And that is one of the reasons why we're trying to invent more advanced tooling that simplifies the development process, because you simply cannot meet that demand. You will always have more people who are just in it for the money, or people who are just there to do a job so that they can get paid and go home and watch TV. Then you're going to have people who are there to make a difference, who are there because they love the industry, etc., etc. And that, my friend, is not going anywhere. So what I want you to take away from this is that no, I don't think that software development is ever going to be a lowly paid job or like a low class job, because the jobs that usually have that sort of label, if that makes sense, is down to doing either menial tasks or like labors or work that is really not the sort of thing that is perceived to be high value, even though it's pretty critical for a lot of stuff in our society. But there you go. I've always found it interesting how you can mistreat your daycare teachers. They're taking care of your children, for God's sakes. I can't imagine something where it's more important that you trust that person than, anyway. But it really comes down, usually at the very least, to the same thing. The work is not valued all that much, and the supply of people who can do it is fairly high. That's what you should set salaries and expectations and stuff like that. And for a software developer in programming, yes, we are making it quote unquote easier to become a programmer, but you're looking at it from the wrong perspective, in my opinion. Yes, you have now more access to information to help you become a software developer than you have historically, but you've never had a more complicated ecosystem. There has never been a higher requirement for software developers to know stuff than there is today. So making it easier, that's very subjective. What is easier about software development? It's easier to get started, but to master it, it's never been more complicated. Have a great day.